Sagon, it's Big House here. Yes, I know that's a scary little picture. That's me when I'm very young. And we've come to the 800th chapter out of 1,000, hopefully, of this documentary, Ask an Injin. Now, I won't apologize for the name because when you go to YouTube, finding something that doesn't have the word Indian in it is almost impossible. So I came up with Ask an Injin as the first one in 2 days that actually came up, so that's what I printed. I'll also apologize for the shakiness of the last few chapters, as I am the second month into isolation of the COVID virus, the dreaded COVID virus. So I'm just literally sitting in my car in the middle of a tobacco field working on this documentary. Now, I promised friends and family that about every mile marker of this documentary, I would tell you something else about myself. So, brace yourself, here we go. Raised on an Indian reservation in St. Regis Indian Reservation, now called Akwesasne, which means land where partridge drum, or land where white partridge is found. You do the interpretation. Anyway. Well, it's up on the Quebec border, 2/3 in Quebec, 1/3 in U.S. or New York State. And it's a wonderful place. I want to tell you a bit about my upbringing and my culture. First, I'd have to go to my grandmother. My grandmother, this is her, born Elizabeth, married name Elizabeth Cook. We called her Nanny. And this is the toughest, most dependable woman on the entire planet. She came from 25 siblings, and she raised 15 children. And her Indian name, on the reservation, her Indian name was Gunastides, which interpreted in English is Wrecker of Villages. Interpreted in Mohawk was, when she speaks, the world stops to listen to what she has to say. And that exactly was the truth. This woman, like I say, the toughest woman I have ever come across in my entire life. My mom was one of the younger children, Betty Cook. This is my mom, Betty Cook, born of 15 siblings, one of them, and raised on the reservation. She pretty much hated the white man for all the past injustice, but she was born up on a reservation and had 10 children in just as many years, and she was always a bartender and a cook, or both, or manager of a bar or whatever restaurant. And she, in my opinion, was the biggest wildcat that I had ever known in my life. And it comes to be that one day, I was very young, she loaded 4 of us into an Oldsmobile convertible and headed for Nashville, Tennessee. Now, my mom, I guess I inherited that, was always a dreamer. But once she got something stuck in her head, well, heaven help you, she was going to accomplish it. She loaded 4 of us into this Oldsmobile and took off for Nashville, Tennessee. Now, we were just below Montreal, Quebec at the time, and we spent, as close as I can remember, it must have been 6 months to a year in the back seat of that car. It just seemed like forever, heading for Nashville, Tennessee. And she was determined to see the singers at the Grand Ole Opry or Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee. Here are 9 of the 10 children she bore in just as many years. Now, I am the little funny-looking one in the front row, the only boy in the front row. And from the oldest to the youngest, top left, is my sister, Terrell. And my brother and sister twins were Eddie and Emmy. And then there was Jeffra on the top. In the bottom row, from right to left, is Sue Ann with the flowers. Candy is the youngest. I'm there third from the youngest. And that's Robin on the left. Aren't they cute? So this is the children we grew up with, the family I grew up with. So one warm summer day, she loaded 4 of us in the backseat of this car and headed for Nashville, Tennessee. This is Ryman Auditorium. If you're not familiar with it, it originally was a church. And once it went out of business in Nashville, Tennessee, huge church, they turned it into the Grand Ole Opry. And that's the original Grand Ole Opry. And if you look to the left, there's an alleyway down through there, and down the street below was Music Row. So all of the players, especially Hank Williams, if I recall, would go down in Music Row and practice their music in the stages down there and get drunk or make love to all the locals, whatever they want to do. But they partied down there on Music Row all the time and warmed up to come up to play at the Grand Ole Opry. So we're heading for the Grand Ole Opry, and it just seems like forever. And we get down through New York State, Pennsylvania, and somewhere I think in Ohio. Anyway, she blows a tire on the front of the car. Well, it's in the middle of the night, and we get out and help her change the tire as best as possible. I was just a little kid at the time, so I probably didn't help. But anyway, we changed the tire and put the spare tire on. Now, I'm about to tell you a story that has pretty much shaped my entire life, and it keeps coming back to me over and over again. So if you learn nothing else from this documentary, I would appreciate it if you had learned this lesson. So we put the spare tire on, and down the road we go. Well, we get somewhere, I think, I'm not really sure, Tennessee or Kentucky or somewhere, and the truck loses a piece of metal off the back of the truck, and it comes through and goes right through the daggum radiator on the car. And I mean, it just an explosion of steam and smoke, and the car overheats and quits, and we limped the car into this little tiny gas station. Well, all the kids in the car are begging her, please give this up and turn back. My mom, once she got something stuck in her head, that was the end of it. That was going to happen no matter what. So we pull in this little gas station, sleep overnight, wake up in the morning, and this really kind old man that's in the gas station, he comes out and takes a look at it, scratches his head, scratches his butt, and says, man, I don't know where I'd get a radiator for that, but I got an old Chevy out back, and I think that radiator, we can make it fit in there, stick a block of wood in there to space the bolt pattern, but all we need is something to keep the motor cool, right? Because it's an emergency, you got to get to Nashville. Well, I'm not sure what she told him, but anyway, we all begged her and begged her and begged her to give it up. We're only like 100 miles from Nashville at the time. She stopped everything exactly the way it was, and we also didn't have any money, so I'm not sure how we got the radiator. My mom was always a wildcat, no doubt about it. But anyway, somehow she got the money or something. She got the radiator, put it that way. And she stopped all of us, sat us down, and she said, listen, we're going to the Grand Ole Opry. And I realized that things are looking tough, but I'm not done fighting yet. That's when she came up with the radiator, the block of wood to hold it in there, and we went off to the Grand Ole Opry. And that saying comes back to me over and over and over again when I get down and everything has gone to crap on me and nothing is working, nothing is going my way, and this comes right back to recent heart failure, 10 heart attacks in 4 days, quadruple bypass, pacemaker. I'm on my 3rd pacemaker, polio, post-polio, leg perthes, which is a bone marrow disease. I have recently had the wife say, you know, you might as well, you're retired now. I'm just kicking near 70 years old now. Might as well just give it up and enjoy your retirement. Sit home and watch movies, the Hallmark Channel, whatever, tearjerkers, chick flicks. I stopped, looked at her, and I said, you know, dear, it may be looking real bad, but I'm not through fighting yet. And it floored me, because it popped right out of nowhere, right from the bowels of whatever I'm made of. And I'm still marching. In fact, that's about the time I started this documentary, flat on my butt and not a pot to pee in. But if you don't take anything else away from this lesson, take this away. I'm not done fighting yet.